Welcome, it's Heather, and I'm glad you're joining me today. Our first do-it-yourself is going to be a shadow box of sorts. I'm going to start with this frame that I got at a thrift store, and I'm going to be decoupaging this napkin onto this cardboard piece that was behind the frame. So I'm just separating the two plies of the napkin. I just want the top piece, and then I'm just going to cut out around it. And it doesn't have to be exact because I'm going to use Mod Podge to put this on, and it's very forgiving. So get it close here. And then the trick with using Mod Podge is you want to use light layers, especially when you're using napkins or thin paper, because it'll rip very easily if you get too much on. It'll even rip easily with the right amount. So you just have to be very careful and do a really light layer. And then with this, since it is so light of a material, I'm going to be mostly using my palm of my hands and my fingertips and just slowly getting everything in place and the wrinkles ironed out. And I decided, because a little bit of the truck shows on the one side, I wanted to add some more pumpkins to that corner. So I'm just trimming the white off from around it, and then it'll just kind of seamlessly blend in with the other pumpkins once we get the Mod Podge on. And it looks like it was just all one piece. Then I'm going to trim that down. And I decided that I wanted like an antique, rustic looking, piece. And so I decided I was going to take some of the plain cream colored napkin and randomly place it in amongst the first napkin we put down. And this will just give it kind of an aged appearance and make the background a little more of that yellowish color instead of so creamy. So it's just going to make it look a little more aged and distressed. And it's just going to blend in nicely once you get the decoupage on. The seams blend into one another and it looks very nice. There are these leaves along the edge of the napkin, and I wanted to somehow use those, but it took me a while to figure out if I wanted to run them down the side or do a little in each corner. I was just kind of experimenting around a little bit with things. I thought maybe some on top and up on the side, like just do the corner with them. But I just wasn't feeling it. I just couldn't decide what I wanted to do with it at that time. So I did end up putting on another piece of the plain napkin on that one side, since I wasn't going to be putting the leaves over it. And I got these napkins at Dollar General. It was $1.50 for the package. And this is the second one I've used. I used the little truck on a different video, and I decided I wanted to use the pumpkins this time. I cut out the word gather that was also on the napkin, and I'll just decoupage that in the middle but up towards the top a little bit. You can see when I add the decoupage, it just seamlessly goes together. So I decided to put the leaves up along the top. So I'm getting those glued down. And then that's all I'm going to do to this piece. It's important to let the Mod Podge dry between layers, because it doesn't take very long to dry if you don't get too much glue on there at once. So while that's drying, I'm going to work on the frame. I took off the old piece of fabric that was tied on, and I'm going to tie on this one. It's actually a cream colored, and it's got little orange dots on it that are hard to see, but I'm fraying the edges to make it look a little more worn. And I decided to leave the picture frame the way it was. It's green and it's already distressed and it matched fine, and I thought, well, there's no use painting it if it works. And it already had the wire to hang it up top, which is part of the reason why I did get this frame at the thrift store. I think I paid 50 cents for it. Now, after I get it back in the frame, I'm going to take some fall florals, just some small bits of lamb's ear and some little seed groupings and a little flower, and just kind of glue them down in the corner so it looks like a shadow box appearance, and it kind of looks like it's spilling out of the frame. It's not actually a shadow box, but it has a thicker edge on it because of the wood, so it works out well for that. I'm just doing these in the opposite corner since the pumpkins are all over in the other corner. And then I'm putting a little raffia bow down there. And then on this other side, I have this bag of little tiny pine cones that I got that came out of a picture that I got at Dollar General. And I used the box of it for something else. And so I decided to put a few of the pine cones on the sign. Everything on here was just glued down with my glue gun. And here's how it came out. It's very rustic and a little primitive looking. Great for a country style decor. You can see all the details. Our next do-it-yourself is going to be a sunflower wood wreath, and we're going to be using wood slices. I got these off of Amazon. You can always get all different sizes. I chose this size, which I do not know. I think they're 4 inches in diameter, possibly, or 3. I'm using 12 of them. I'm putting 6 around the bottom, and then I'm layering the other 6 on top, joining 2 of the bottom pieces. So I'll put a little wood glue that I got at Dollar Tree, and then I'll put a little hot glue, and that way they'll hold temporarily and permanently. And you're just going to want to hold it down for a little bit when you put it on so that it can give it time to adhere. Now, sometimes when you order these wood slices, they have a hole in them to make like ornaments or things. These don't, but if you had some that did, you'd want to use some kind of wood filler or wood putty and put in there and then sand it down. I'm not going to paint these or anything. I'm going to leave them natural. This is going to be another kind of rustic looking craft today. And now I'm going to put these sunflowers on here. We got these sunflowers for free in a box of things that somebody was throwing out that was alongside the road. And the sunflowers were in this arrangement, and they were just so pretty. And so those are free. I got the other floral that I'm using here, the wheat pieces, from Dollar Tree. They have some pretty nice florals out this fall. And so I'm just kind of getting everything glued down. I'm trying to decide exactly how I want to do the florals at the bottom. I have this wheat piece and it's got some green in it. It has some yellows and it's got the little wheat head, and those are kind of a tan color. And I thought they'd look good with the colors of this sunflower. So now I'm just going to kind of play around with them. You're going to want to make sure you can tuck them in somewhere where you aren't going to be able to see the glue. So don't glue your sunflowers down so tightly in the first place where you can't get in there to put any other florals. Because I usually try to tuck them up under as much as I can. And you're not going to want them to go through the other side because they'll show. So now I just start gluing everything in. It always takes way more than you think because it's, when you start filling things out, it just, a little doesn't go a long ways sometimes. Where do you like to get your florals for crafting? Do you go to Dollar Tree? Do you go to Hobby Lobby? Do you get them online? I, pretty much since COVID, I've only been shopping online for the most part. And so I do go to Dollar Tree. So I do get some there. Otherwise, I get some of mine online. And I have been getting quite a few when my fiance finds treasures when he's coming home on garbage day. There's lots of florals out, it seems like. And he'll pick some up if they're in good shape. There's a man that we know whose mother-in-law died, so we get a lot of things from that. And here's the wreath. Our next DIY and our last one is going to be this fabric covered pumpkin. We're going to start with this wooden sign from Dollar Tree, and it's a pumpkin. It's got a silver leaf on the front. We are going to take that and the raffia bow off and remove the hanger for now. And then we're going to use the back side. I'm going to start by putting down our middle piece of fabric. And I just had this fabric from some my mom had given me that she didn't need anymore. And I just really liked the colors of this one, and I thought it'd be pretty for fall. So I'm putting it down the middle, and so I'll start with just using some Aleene's fabric glue. So I'm just putting it on the pumpkin, and then I'm just going to center this fabric. I'm also putting hot glue down. And then what I'm going to do is trim away the excess. Now you don't have to be super precise on this because we're going to be roughing up the edges so they will look worn. So just trim as close as you can. Yes, I had to find my biggest pair of scissors ever that I owned, but they're the sharpest right now. But you just want to cut away any extra. And then we will be wrapping the handle or the stem rather, on the pumpkin with twine. So we don't need to worry about covering that right now. I did paint each of the other two sides a dark brown color so that the lighter fabric I'm putting on them wouldn't show through to something lighter, because it just made the fabric see-through. And so that's up to you if you need to do this step or not. If your fabric's heavier like my middle one was, it won't matter. But I'm just going to rip the edge of the seam. If you make a little slit in your fabric going with the grain, and you take and you pull it, it'll rip right down in a straight line if you rip it straight. And that's what I'm doing on these. So the edges that are overlapping onto the chevron pattern fabric are going to have the rough edges. And then we're going to use Mod Podge to glue them down since they're more see-through. And we'll go ahead and cut off any of the remainder. And it'll be the same as the other, just doesn't have to be perfect, but get as close as you can. And just go around. So you can see you've got the center piece, and then each of the edge pieces has the rough edge down the center. And then we are going to go around the edges of the other fabric now, and just take your finger and kind of pull it and rough it up a little bit. So you want it to look a little worn. And that's why it doesn't really matter how precisely you cut, because we're going to be pulling it out a little bit to rough it up anyway. And you just go around all the edges. It's going to be a cute little rustic pumpkin. You want to make sure all of your fabric edges are glued down with the Mod Podge. Now you don't have to put Mod Podge on the top, just put it on the underside. I went and painted this thankful sign, which I got from Dollar Tree. It was in a pack of 3 metal words. And I think this is my last one. And it says thankful, so I had painted it brown. And I also painted that leaf that we had that was on here, that Dollar Tree had on it, and I painted it brown also. So I'm going to go ahead and glue on the thankful. And then I'm going to put some twine on the stem. So I'm going to just wrap it around and around, and then put some glue down. And then here's that leaf that I painted. It got a little scraped up. I should have put some Mod Podge over it after I painted it brown so that it wouldn't have chipped. So I will have to touch that back up. But for now, so you can see what it's like, I went ahead and put it on. And I also put the little raffia bow back on that was on there. And I think it came out really cute. All 3 of our crafts today are cottagey and little rustic. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.